Welcome back to a best of 3 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Lightshade. Now, a couple of weeks ago I made a video announcing that Innovation had played his final tournament. He's now doing his mandatory military service, and he mentioned in the past that he does not intend on coming back after wrapping that up. And in the comment section below the video, I saw a lot of people that were pretty sad about the situation, which obviously makes a lot of sense because Innovation is one of the most successful StarCraft 2 pros of all time. But I could also taste a little bit of a question on a lot of the comments where people are wondering if this was the beginning of the end for Korean StarCraft 2. I don't really know the details, but if I'm not mistaken, the mandatory military service, you have to start it up before you're like 29 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and it takes like a year and a half or so. And since StarCraft 2 has now been around for like 11 years, and a lot of these guys have been pro gamers for like a decade, we're getting to that point where a lot of them will have to start their service very, very soon. Either way, even though Innovation apparently is not planning on returning, I already made a video as well mentioning that Gumiho has decided to come back. So that's pretty exciting. I've always been a big fan of Gumiho's playstyle. I'll try and see if I can cast some more of his games in the near future. Regardless, today it's time for another player who recently came back to the game after, well, leaving, I think in like 2019 or so. So this man was active, I want to say, from Wings of Liberty all the way until 2019. And then recently, after finishing his mandatory military service, he also decided to come back. So playing here with the Red Protoss probes, we have none other than herO. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Zerg drones, actually also a player that already finished up his mandatory military service as well. We're looking at none other than DRG's main hatchery. Although I believe DRG is a little bit older. I think DRG is like, I want to say 30, maybe 31 years old. It's been a little while since he wrapped up his. Either way, herO. Not to be confused, by the way, with like Liquid herO. So there used to be Liquid herO, and then there used to be herO. Both of them were Korean, and both of them are Korean. And both of them play Protoss, which is a little bit confusing. Anyways, this is the second version of the two. The Smiling Assassin is what people used to call him, and I think also the IEM King. Either way, he joined Dragon Phoenix Gaming again a couple of weeks ago after he announced that he came back to the game, which is really exciting because that's one of the absolute best teams right now in StarCraft. So his fellow teammates are going to be Cure, Dark, herO, Rogue, and Zest, and then a couple of Chinese players that aren't very good, but at the very least, his Korean teammates are insanely good. When it comes to tournament victories, herO has won IEM Singapore in 2013, IEM Sao Paulo in 2014, IEM San Jose in 2014, the Kespa Cup in 2015, an SSO in 2015, and then also a GSL Super Tournament in 2017. Obviously, that's only tournament victories in premier events. He's played in a ton of major events as well, and then also obviously loads of second place finishes and semifinals and all that. When it comes to total tournament earnings, he's at roughly $350,000, which puts him in 27th place overall. So there you go. A little bit of a masterclass right there on herO over his last decade or so of StarCraft. But it's exciting to see, though, that a couple of players have returned. Actually, there's someone else as well. I don't really want to spoil it. I'll try and see if I can make another video for that in the very near future. If you aren't subscribed to this YouTube channel just yet, please go ahead and do so. But basically, a couple of players are now returning to the game, which is, yeah, just fantastic. Now, I do feel, though, that herO is going to have a very tough road ahead of him in this particular series, because DRG is looking very, very, very strong. So, DRG, just a few days ago, straight up qualified for the GSL Code S, which is definitely the hardest tournament to qualify for in StarCraft 2. He did so by not dropping a single map. So he went 2-0 over Universe, 2-0 over Cure, and then 2-0 over Keen. And the only players that managed to qualify straight for the GSL Code S are Zaun, Maru, and Rogue. So, you know, DRG, Zaun, Maru, Rogue. I mean, Maru, Rogue, Zaun, those guys are at the top of the game. DRG, I feel like a lot of people are not rating him as highly as those other guys. But DRG certainly is ridiculously good, so I do feel like herO is going to have a tough time ahead of him, but we'll find out exactly what he ends up going for here. So, double Stargate opener. I just selected a random series, by the way. This is from the ESL Open Cup North America, if I'm not mistaken, between my favorite North American players. But he's going to go... I mean, I'm not surprised. He's always played relatively standard games of Protoss. It seems like he's going to go for a double Stargate approach. So it's going to be a lot of Void Rays, huh? Just like everyone else, huh? Not surprising. There's the +1 flyer upgrade as well here for herO. So he's definitely planning on playing a very Skytles heavy game. DRG is going for a very interesting approach here. This is not one I've seen before. I feel like pretty much all of the Zerg players at this point are going for queen heavy armies. So they go for queen marches to watch the other side of the map. And, well, you know what? We're going to go up to 8 queens here very shortly as well for the Zerg. But he's already gone for a lair just now, and he's got +1 melee coming up very early on. So I don't really know exactly now. He started up a ton of workers as well. I don't think he's planning on really getting aggressive here anytime soon. As a Zerg player myself, this makes me a little bit anxious because this almost always leads towards a game where, yeah, Protoss is going to be able to get a lot of Stargate units. And the Stargate units, they deal a lot of damage. They're pretty strong. That fort is so late, by the way. All right. Anyways, I hope that this is going to be a fun series. Just because, obviously, since these guys have just returned, there's not really that many games out there featuring them. A lot of them also seem to be kind of secretive with the way that they play the game. So it's like, you know, hard to get my hands on any of these replays. But luckily, the ESL Open Cup, you know, they did participate in some of them. So that's cool. The same for Gumiho. Anyways, Fleet Beacon comes up right now as well for the Zerg. Or for the Protoss, rather. Zerg wishes they had a Fleet Beacon. But he's got himself the, I guess, the carrier transition coming up, right? So the Void Rays are here scooting down the bottom end of the map. This seems overly ambitious, but he is going to be able to get into the main base. I mean, if these lasers can start hitting the base, that would not be bad. There you go. Spore Crawler is going to go down very rapidly. Queen is taking a bunch of damage as well. Queen from the natural comes walking up here. At the same time, we do have a bit of a Zergling Baneling counterattack. Okay, you know what? This is going to instantly force the recall. I think that's 1 Void Ray less if I'm not mistaken. But now the Lings and the Banes are inside of the main. 5 workers end up going down. Now it turns out the best defense is indeed the offense. So that's one way, I guess, of dealing with the Void Ray. Going for the counterattack right there, forcing the recall. I guess it alleviates some of that pressure off of the back right here of the Protoss, who's now going to go for actually the speed upgrade right there for the Void Rays inside of the Fleet Beacon. Not carriers just yet, but just the speed upgrade first. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I also saw a 3rd Stargate right there on the production tab. So he's going to go for carriers right now. I'm looking at the Zerg though, and he doesn't have... This is what I do like about casting a variety of players, right? He doesn't have any anti-air other than queens. So he's got 10 queens against 9 Void Rays and soon to be 2 carriers as well. That's... Alright, so it's going to be Ling Bane. +2 melee. Hive is coming up right now as well. Ling Bane Queen? Is that going to be the army? Triple carrier being produced. I mean, like I said, DRG is real good. So I'm assuming he knows what he's doing, but this is not an approach that I am really familiar with. He's going +2 as well. 4th Nexus is coming up right now for herO. Yeah, he's just making a ton of queens. Okay, Ling's actually got dropped off inside of the main base right there with the little drop alert. Hive is going to finish up very soon, though, and Hive obviously is going to allow that Adrenal Glands upgrade, which is going to make these Zerglings and Banelings so much more powerful. Is that what DRG is aiming for right now? Is he trying to, like, bleed his opponent out? Either way, the Void Rays have snuck into the main base. They're going to start zapping down the Hive, and the Hive right now is gone, which means that there's not going to be an Adrenal Glands anytime soon, but also no Vipers and no Hive tech here in general. Queens have made their way towards the main. A new lair will need to start up. At the same time, though, loads of probes have gone down. Those Zerglings inside of the main base are still getting work done, and the 4th Nexus has also been killed. So in a way, herO right now is stuck on 3 bases. 1 more Void Ray also ends up getting picked off. These Void Rays are being as annoying as they possibly can be. A little bit of stutter step control. Now, once again, the front door is open because there's really not that many ground units. So it's just pure Ling Bane. And even though there's not that much anti-ground available here, I feel like these Zerglings should not have been able to deal this much damage. Like, 1 shield battery over here would have made the defense a heck of a lot easier. Queens right now available as well, obviously. Plenty of them. Can we have some transfuses? I think he's busy microing. There we go. I think he was busy microing those Lings. Either way, that's 34 probes going down. 40 in total in this game. 84 workers still remain right now for DRG, who's just gonna rinse and repeat. He's like, okay, you know what? My opponent is definitely gonna counterattack right now. I'm just gonna once again go for a push towards the third. We're at 16 queens, 6 carriers, and then 6 void rays. There's not really any spore crawlers here either, though, so I'm a little bit concerned. Anyways, here we go. I think this is gonna force the all-in from our Protoss player, who has a ton of army, though. Like, this is a scary force. Do not underestimate it. Every queen right now that gets killed is gonna be... It's gonna be painful. So the question is there gonna be enough right now for the Protoss player to clear out all of this Zerg army? He's gonna just go and target fire down the queens one at a time. They're desperately trying to transfuse each other back up to full health. But this is what I was a little bit concerned for when I saw this approach from DRG. Maybe he could have added on a lot of spore crawlers here, but this army is... Well, I mean, unless you target firing down the cocoons that have a gajillion armor. This army here from our Protoss player seems near unstoppable with a hatchery-based tech. We have tier 3 Protoss going up against tier 1 Zerg. Now, queens are good, but they're not quite that good. Alright. Do we have a full-on base raise right now? Assuming he can hold on, man. This is actually a problem right now for the Protoss player. This is a base race. So the win condition in StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures. Normally, we don't see that happening, but Zerg is expanded all over the map. It's gonna take these carriers and void rays quite some time to finish all of this off. Okay, the probes are actually now also in a nice little choke point over here. That Adept in the back is having an absolute field day. Reinforcing Zerglings are coming up, but DRG doesn't have enough larva to actually continuously reinforce this. And herO does win game number 1. That was actually surprisingly successful there for DRG. I think what he could have done is just make like a forest of spore crawlers in one location of the map and just park the queens on top of it. Right? Imagine if he would have spent like 20 of his 84 or so drones that he had right there at the end at spore crawlers, and he just created like a little, you know, a little forest. I don't know, somewhere near the natural and the third base or something. Just park the queens on top of all of it, and that's gonna buy you so much time. Obviously, he was also supposed to be at Hive, which got picked off right there by the Void Rays. So if he would have been at Hive and he had adrenal glands done for those Zerglings, they would have had like 40% more attack speed, which is absolutely massive. So maybe he would have won the base race, even if he wouldn't have gone for the spores. Anyways, even a couple of Vipers obviously would have been huge as well. Like Vipers with Parasitic Bomb against those Interceptor ships, or, you know, just to soften up any of those Skytools units. It's not a bad idea. Lingbane Queen versus Skytools. I feel like Lingbane is not that great against Skytools, but hey, DRG sure showed us that it's definitely viable. Interesting approach. See, I'm always inclined to look at the best players in the world and the way that they play against those sort of build orders, right? So, for example, right now, I think it's probably either Raynor or Dark that's best at Protoss versus Zerg. Or maybe herO as well, because herO obviously is really good in ZVP. Although he's become a little bit less stable when it comes to like his win rates over like the last half year or so. Either way, they all play a very similar approach, and it's not Lingbane. Like sometimes Lingbane Hydra, but that's a little bit old school. Usually it's not Lingbane. I've not seen them play it. So usually the go-to advice is that, well, if you want to know how to deal with one of those, you know, one of those types of armies and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, just copy what the best player in the world does. And, you know, make the assumption that they've tried out everything and this is the approach they've settled on, right? But DRG shows us that there's definitely a little bit of flexibility possible. Now, I do hope that herO is going to show us a little bit more than just Skytools. Because here I am hyping him up and then he plays just Mass Void Ray into carrier. That's what everyone, you know, in Gold League and up does. I would like to see a little bit more, herO. Come on, man. I mean, it worked out last game, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if that was necessarily because of, like, you know, the amazing Stargate decision or because the opponent made a misplay. Because it kind of felt like the second. Either way, that was just the first game of a best-of-3 series. DRG probably not too happy about the situation. Void Ray does come up. As soon as the Void Ray is out, a probe will probably follow it on over towards the third base location. Killing the Overlord along the way. Grabbing the third as quickly as possible as well. Speaking of fast thirds, DRG actually grabbed his really, really early here. Okay, there's the Void Ray coming out. It's gonna be an Oracle as a follow-up this time around. Okay, not bad. I think the Oracle makes a lot of sense. Although I do believe it's scouted just now by the Zerg player, so the Zerg is gonna be able to prepare for that in advance. Last game, if I'm not mistaken as well, DRG decided to skip... Oh. He decided to skip the Spore Crawlers. So maybe that's a weakness that herO observed right there. And he's like, you know what, I'm going to try and get some work done. Although you do need to send that. Hello. Oh, he's going to save them up. Oh, okay. I was going to say, if he's going to idle it inside of the main base for 5 seconds, that would not be great. It was spotted, though, by the... by that Overlord Scout that suicided itself in. It was spotted, so Spore Crawlers are already being built. +1 melee now also coming up once again. So he seems to be a big fan of +1 melee. Ha! Okay, so here's the thing. The reason why that Ling Bane army kind of fell out of favor against Protoss is because Banelings essentially got nerfed 2 times in 2 different patches about a year or so ago. And essentially, they now deal far less damage to shields than they once did. So I don't know what the exact number is, but what it essentially comes down to is that it now requires more Banelings to do the same job than you needed previously, right? Now, I guess if your opponent is going for a Stargate-based army, the Lings and Banes can still manage to get some work done. I really do like what herO is doing here. I mean, he's getting some damage in right here, kill the Queen. But I like especially what he's doing as far as the transition goes right now. He's going into the Twilight Council, and I believe I already saw a Robo as well. Yeah, there it is. So I think against the Ling Bane army, Archon Immortal Zealot into Storm is really good. You can obviously add on a couple of Colossi as well if you want to, and then eventually get towards that Stargate-based army. Was this scouted just now by DRG? I guess he saw the Twilight Council. Oh yeah, he starts up the Roach Warren. As he's... interesting. I guess he's only seen... Yeah, he's also seen an Oracle. He's seen 2 Oracles. So maybe that's also enough for him to make the assumption that it's not going to be that mass Skytles army once again. Even though, you know, Oracles are Skytles units in the strictest sense of the word. Very nice controller so far by herO, though. Keeping the units alive, getting a little bit of damage done. I mean, I think he lost a couple of... No, actually, nope. Thought maybe he lost a few adepts there, but these adepts are also still up. So far, it's actually a flawless game for the Protoss. That would be sick, man, if we have a game of StarCraft where no resources are lost for one of the players. Literally a perfect game. I don't think it's gonna happen, but... Anyways, DRG at this point now is going up against a different type of army. He starts up the Roach Warren, he starts up the Roach Speed, but he also goes +2 melee. So just to clarify, melee upgrades benefit the Zerglings, the Banelings, but also the Ultralisks, right? And I feel like the Banelings is the one that's, like, usually overlooked, because they just attack once. But, you know, that one attack is going to deal more damage when you have melee upgrades. Either way, loads of gateways coming up right now here for herO. Most of this gets scouted as well here by DRG. He's going to go for a 4th hatch. So what is he going to go for? Like Lingbane Ravager? Is that the strat? Yeah, he's already got Baneling speed coming up too. I love this, yeah. 2nd Robo and a Robo Bait. Just a few Colossi would actually be pretty good. I think 3 Colossus or so would be fantastic. This is probably forcing herO, though, into a unit composition that he's probably not as comfortable with. Can imagine most of the games, at least he plays on the ladder, are going to be based around those Stargate units. But he's now forced to make a bit of a reaction. So actually, Stasis Ward once again putting a couple of the drones here on pause for a little bit. This one inside of the main base also getting a little bit of work done. Looks like the Oracles are trying to find a way out. And I think they've managed. Yep. Okay, so what are we going to do now that the Robo Bay is done? Are we going to go into Immortals or are we going to go into Colossus? I wouldn't mind seeing... Ooh, Spire? Really? I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of Colossi. Either way, That Spire and that Robo Bay are gonna have to wait, I believe, because herO is making himself up for a big assault. He doesn't have... Ooh, he doesn't have charge done. He's actually only at Blink. I don't like it. You can't push with only Blink. Well, you can, but like... Okay, so +2 melee Zerglings deal way more damage than you'd imagine. Like, it's weird to see the Zerglings doing this well. With only a handful of them actually being able to attack here. Sentries being warped in, though, reducing the service area over there, and it will be defended at the same time. Oracles over at the 4th base of the Zerg are getting some work done. This guy has been at 4 hit points for far too long, but he's still alive. Anyways, indeed, Colossi is a follow-up. Extended thermal lens now also being researched. So we're going to have a heavy ground-based army. That being said, the Spire is already about to finish up. Robobay wasn't spotted, but he did see the second Robo facility. So he could go just into Corruptors, honestly. Just like a round of Corruptors here. Lingbane, Ravager, Corruptor? Eh. Eventually that Oracle does get popped, it seems, but... There's a lot of Banelings available right now. No 4th Nexus anywhere to be seen. herO once again maxed out. Or sorry, DRG once again maxed out. The Colossi? Okay, well, they'll have to show themselves right now. But they're gonna have a blast. Yep, battery overcharge here being utilized, and that is 19 and 11 kills, respectively. They're very strong. 2 more Colossi are coming up as well, actually. This is gonna be one hell of a push right here from herO. He's going into the Storm research very soon, too, if I'm not mistaken. But I feel like this is a push he could definitely commit to. 2 more Colossi are coming up. This might be a little bit of an early engagement, though. Stalker's kind of far forward. A couple of the Corrosive Balls do connect right there with some of the Spellcasters. I think they should have waited just a little bit longer. That being said, those Force Fields are really nice. Banelings, though, slipped through the cracks, and I think this was a little bit of impatience right here on herO's end. He had still 2 Colossi marching in the direction of this army, and while, you know, he blinked forward on top of a few of the Queens, that was not great. Nope. Even now, one of the Void Rays gets Corrosive Bile down. That's exactly what DRG was looking for. Maybe herO didn't anticipate the creep being this far out, but over the last half year or so, or the last year and a half or so, players have gotten much better at that creep spread, Mr. herO. So that was, yeah, that was sloppy. DRG saw an opportunity and he pounced. I feel like if he would have waited 10 seconds until I think the ranged upgrade wasn't done yet, and then I think he had like 2 Colossi that were like marching over here, and the army was over here, right? Like they were so close. 1 warp in of Zealots there and 2 more Colossi. I've got a feeling that would have made all the difference. Either way, right now, DRG, he smells blood. Roaches and Ravagers are going to be the transition at this point. Colossi deal fantastically well with Lings and Banes, but they're not so good against Roaches and Ravagers. So they deal bonus damage against Light, and Roaches and Ravagers are not. You can notice the difference here, right? Like the Lings and Banes absolutely got melted, but the Roaches and Ravagers just kind of like stand inside of the laser beams. No problemo. Natural expansion is overrun. That being said, I mean, they're still getting some good work done. Yeah, 13 and 14 and 17 kills. The problem is this is still 3 base Protoss right now. And Zerg is happily macroing off of 5 base at this point. So like, even if this is cleaned up, what are you gonna do? Go for like... You can't go for a 4th base right now. Banes are once again ready to go for a run by. I think the Sim City over here is a little bit too tight though. Not likely that they're going to be able to roll in, although maybe he's just going to go around it. Okay, you know what? I didn't think it was going to happen, but... Oh, God. Oh, God. 19 workers for 4 Banelings with the worst path that they... Okay. So why did he make a Spire, huh? DRG is playing some very low-tech armies. Isn't that kind of neat? So he's at Hive Tech, but he's literally only using the Hive for Zergling upgrades. Interesting. So Roach Ravager is not done yet. It's a lot of army coming up as well, though. Okay, Archon split, but I mean, I think this is a numbers game, herO. Like, the only reason DRG is taking this fight off creep is because he believes he can win it. He doesn't need to be fighting here. Now, some nice pickup, Micro. Okay, you know, pretty good. Yeah, there's just no longevity in his army, because he's only on 3 base. And that brings us to Blackburn LE. Just because I was curious, I had a quick look at the Grandmaster League ladder on Korea. And I can't find DRG, so I guess DRG is mostly practicing through custom games or something along those lines, or maybe he's playing under an unidentified barcode account. Either way, herO is currently the rank 11 on the server. So he's rank 11 at 6,452 MMR. Yeah, I can't find... Yeah, I can't find DRG anywhere. I was all tapped out. You couldn't see, but... I can't find DRG anywhere. So I guess DRG... I mean, he could definitely sit in, like, one of the top 5 positions, it seems. He does have an interesting approach. Yeah. A very swarmy approach, right? Interestingly enough, we haven't seen him make a single Hydra. We haven't seen him make a single Corruptor or Viper or Infestor or anything like that, which is what those other Zerg players that I mentioned earlier are very keen on using. In a way, actually, the way that DRG has been playing this series reminds me of the way that Su used to play. Su also, by the way, currently in the military, in case you're unfamiliar. Let me have a quick peek at when he started up his service, because it's been a little bit. He started it... Oh, he actually started it about a year ago. No, a little bit less. So, on the 22nd of October, 2020. So that's actually a little bit sad. I wish Su was still... Man, I've always been a big fan of Su's playstyle. Su never really played... You know, like when every other Zerg player was playing that maxed out Brute Lord Infestor army, Su was never playing that type of style. He's never been a fan of late game. But anyways, DRG is now playing a very similar style. For what it's worth, by the way, DRG is the type of guy that will go for mutas pretty much every time he gets the chance. So, you know. herO likely will once again go for that Stargate opener. I think the Stargate opener is just... It makes the most sense. It's just the best opener, you know. It's gonna go for an Adept over here. Now that the tech is done. Yep, there's the Stargate once again. So I've brought this up in previous videos as well, but I still see the question coming up all of the time. So why exactly do Protoss players open up Stargate? I want to say like 99 out of 100 games at the pro level right now, assuming it gets to like, you know, this state in the first place and it's not like, you know, a 12 pool going up against a Cannon Rush or whatever, right? So when Protoss players go for a gateway into a Cybercore, when the Cybercore finishes, they can make a Twilight Council, they can make a robotics facility, or they can make a Stargate, right? It's kind of like the point at which they branch off into a certain direction. Now, broadly speaking, with a Twilight Council or a Robo opener, Protoss is first off a lot more forced to do damage, right? Which is unlikely to happen against good Zerg players. Plus, their third Nexus will be quite a bit later than with a Stargate opener. So with a Stargate opener, you can kill your opponent's scouts, which is fantastic. You don't even need a Stalker for that. But you can also grab a third Nexus before the 4-minute mark. Whereas if you want to go for like a macro-focused... I don't know, like a Dark Templar warp in into Archon drop or whatever, which I think is a great build, your third Nexus is still going to be like a full minute later. So it's quite significant. At this point, there honestly doesn't seem to be a good reason to open up Twilight or Robo, unless, you know, you just simply want to throw your opponent off. Like, there is something to be said for the idea that, like, since Zerg players play against Stargate so much, they won't have as much practice playing against Twilight Councils and Robos, but... Yeah, in the strictest sense of the word, it is just the more efficient opener to go for the Stargate one. It's just better. Like killing 2 Overlords over here, grabbing a third Nexus safely, because what are you going to do here as Zerg, right? You could make a lot of Zerglings, but then the Oracle and the Void Ray can do a lot of damage. Second Stargate now comes up as well, so herO once again going for the approach that he went for in Game 2. And he also starts up the +1 Flyer upgrade. Maybe this is actually what DRG used in the first game to determine what his opponent was doing. So, there's the Oracle going in. So, first game we saw mass Void Ray. Second game we saw a Void Ray into an Oracle. Once again, +1 melee starts up. So DRG is just doing this as like his standard. He's just going +1 melee every game apparently. I do want to pay attention. I don't know if you already checked, but I do want to pay attention on whether or not he sees the top of the high ground over here. I don't think he just checked it. No, he goes for a hold up. I'm going to back off for just a second. So this is purely because I'm curious myself. How does DRG decide to go for a Roach Warren or a Baneling's Nest? He checks right here with Zerglings. Sees that the third Nexus has come up. Oh, he does. Okay, yep. So he checks right here with the Zerglings on the high ground, and he sees that the Cybernetics core is spinning. So in the Cybernetics core, you have 3 different upgrades. First off, oh, this is nice. 4 kills so far, not bad. First off, you have the Warp Gate research, right? Which already was done, obviously. And then you also have flyer attack upgrades. And, you know, armor upgrades. So I guess what herO could do here is fake the upgrade and then still go for a Archon Immortal based army and then catch DRG with just Queens and Zerglings. That would be kind of fun. I would not mind seeing Protoss players starting to play with that a little bit. Although I guess going for a Ling Bane army is not that common, but it does seem like a weakness in DRG's play. Because he is now going to skip the Roach Warren entirely. Obviously, he could always start one up, but yeah. I guess he's constantly checking. Yeah, he's also very diligent with the Zergling scouting here. So if you would see only one Void Ray up to this point in the game and one Oracle, maybe alarm bells would start going off in his head regardless, right? He's expecting to see a certain amount of Voids. Either way, Twilight Council, or sorry, not Twilight Council, Fleet Beacon comes up. And just more and more Void Rays. On this map, there is a gold base. Plus the expansion layout, I think it makes it a little bit easier for DRG to defend his bases than on Lightshade. So there's this really big like slowing zone right over here behind the back of the main base. So Void Rays, I mean, they can definitely sneak in if they want to. It's just that, yeah, Zerg is going to be able to maneuver around these bases quite easily with the Queens on creep, right? They can just go back and forth relatively easily. +2 comes up right away. +2 comes up as well for DRG. Going once again for Banelings. Going once again for Carapace. Going once again for an Infestation Pit. Interesting. So he's already at 85 workers. Like, just to clarify, right? He's got Queens, and he's got a bunch of Zerglings, but he mostly just has workers. 89! He's gonna just go... Okay, he's just gonna go for a 5th. So the way that DRG plays reminds me a little bit as well of, like, the advice that people usually give when it comes to playing against Terran Mech as Zerg. Where they basically just say, well, Terran's not gonna push until, like, they're maxed out, so... It's not entirely true, but that's basically the gist of it. It's going to take them another 5 minutes before they will actually make a move. So, yeah. Just give it a try. See how it goes. Just make drones. Play super greedy. He's going to go up to 95 drones here. There's the Spire. Okay. He does have the Infestation Pit going this time around. Hive also comes up. I actually disagree with the Hive inside of the main base. I feel like the natural would make more sense. Because he lost the Hive in game number 1, right? And didn't work out very well for him. He's going to poke up to the natural, probably. Not quite. That's a lot of dead Zerglings. Oh my god. That's a lot of Banelings. The Pathogen Glance upgrade is going to finish up. That's the Infestor Energy upgrade. You only really get that if you make Infestors, right? We're already up to 12 Queens. More are coming up. Carriers, though, are going to be joining the battlefield as well. There they are. At the same time, Lings and Banes over at that 4th base. Static Defense is going to be blown up in just a matter of seconds. Lings will just target fire down the Nexus at this point. At the same time, Void Rays are over on the other side of the map. I was talking about this, right? There's not enough energy to keep that base alive, I don't think. So the Hive, once again, will get picked off. At the same time, though, 4th Nexus also is killed, and a bunch of Void Rays have to pay for this situation with their lives. That was bad. That was herO actually all army hotkeying and attack moving towards the 4th. That's why the Void Rays turned around and like 5 more of them ended up dying there. That's... How many Void Rays? Okay, 4 Void Rays in total. 1 Hive goes down. The thing is that every minute that goes by right now, look at the income difference, right? There is way more money coming in here for DRG, and yeah, these traits aren't efficient. Now he's got Corruptors as well, so he's going Corruptors and +1 Flyer. Looks like he's learned from game number 1 at the very least. Zerglings and Banelings, I guess, are gonna once again go in for the counterattack. What a strange way of playing against Skytles. No! Oh, herO. Yeah, this is that F2A move I was talking about earlier, right? He selected the all-army hotkey. Now the Nexus on the natural, or in the natural, is also gonna be picked off. Lings and Banes to counter Skytles. It's very interesting. The Queens are marching forward. We're at 15 Corruptors right now. So I guess the Corruptors will be used to target fire down the carriers, and the Queens will just transfuse whatever they can and kill some Interceptors. I'm putting a lot of emphasis, by the way, on the way that DRG is playing in this series. But that's because everyone's seen the way that herO plays a million times before, right? I'm happy to commentate more on that as well, but I mean, I think we've seen it. So this is like a bit of a deja vu, but then all of a sudden the Corruptors show up, huh? Yeah, herO. You can't afford to make mistakes, like leaving your front door open and attack moving the Void Rays while, you know, you're trying to get them back home. It's not allowed at this level of play. Looks like herO is gonna be beaten right here by DRG eventually. DRG playing a very nice series, though. I'm impressed. He looks for weaknesses, and then he abuses them, right? DRG just simply noticed, okay, if you're once again gonna be playing the same build as you did in game number 1 with some very small deviations, I will play even greedier and go straight up to full 5-base situation while you're desperately trying to hold on to 3 Nexus. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video. If you did, hit that like button down below. And today I also want to give a special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for your generosity. But for now, thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.